practice of using it. And we are
Okay, so welcome everybody to Revolutionize Your Marketing with John Petro Sr. that we do here every Friday at 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central. And we have some amazing guests today, so I'm going to bring in John here. Welcome, John.
How are we doing, Emily?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great today.
That's
Actually
good.
getting nice weather up here in New England now.
Yeah, and it's
So,
raining here right now, so
welcome, folks, to Revolutionize Your Marketing. And like Emily said, I have a couple of great guests today. Um, let's bring Jacqueline in first. And Jacqueline, how you doing today?
I'm doing really good, John. It's a lovely day here in the Chicago area. It's warm and spring has come, yay, although the rain is a little bit much. But no, I'm doing great, doing great. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, why don't we start off and let people know who you are? Well, they know where you're from now. And how you get to do what you're doing. Since I have to call you my alignable angel with those angel wings behind you.
Yes, I pivoted from a 40-year career in HR technology to being a spiritual life guide. I help people find their soul's purpose through connection to the angels. These angel wings were actually an artist's drawing on a slate, and I made it my Zoom background because it sort of embodies what I'm all about, helping people connect to their soul, to the divine through communing with the angels.
Okay, that's a very interesting topic. Um, we'll get back to you in a minute. Robert, can we let people know where you are and how you got to do what you're doing?
Okay, well, I'm Robert Tuttle, owner of Bob Tuttle Associates, and this is in Petaluma, California, which is about 50 miles north of San Francisco. And what it is that I pivoted in about 2010 from strictly doing IT and mostly bleeding edge IT to doing more stuff in video and security cameras.
Okay. Um, that's a little bit of a twist to things. Um, so, um, Jacqueline, I understand. We'll get right into this in the beginning. Um, you are shall we say, co-author in a recently released book, which I am also an author in. Um, shall we talk about it? And there's the book with Robert Tuttle. That's right. You're one of the authors too, aren't you, Robert?
No, I'm one coming up. I'm going to be in the military one.
The military one. This is a series of books, folks, that is coming out. It is a group on Alignable called Business with a Purpose. And they put together, as Robert just held up, which mine is right here also. I have 20 of them on hand right now. And what it is it has 42 authors in this first book, where myself, Jacqueline, and 40 others tell their story of how they got started and some of the things along the way before and after, and the purpose, why they get into the business. So, Jacqueline, why don't we give a little snippet of your story in the book? We have to keep them in suspense to buy the book.
Right. Can't give away the whole story. It really all revolves around um having an event, going to an event in Las Vegas and realizing that I get messages and I wasn't aware that I was. And having to re-examine what I was doing, what I was doing, how I was doing it, and then pretty much embarked on a 3-year journey to leave a successful career and pivot to doing the unknown. Like I kind of took it on faith that this is what I was supposed to be doing and that it would all work out. Learning that my purpose is to help others find their purpose. It seems kind of scary. It's a whole new area for me. I've never been a solopreneur like this before. I've always had businesses, but I've had other people with me. And so, yeah, it was going on faith that I was being called to do something and been doing it since October. And a couple of things in my story really talk about how my whole life I've known that I've had gifts, but I just never knew what they were.
Right. And it's something a lot of people, everybody has special gifts that they've received, and a lot of people just don't realize just what they are. Is this the first book for you?
So it's not the first book for me, because in my former career, I've been an author of a number of books. I was pretty well published and well known. I was probably one of the top 10 people in the profession that I was in before I left it. So when I heard about the fact that this book is available through the group Unalignable, I jumped at it. To me, telling your story through books and writing books is just a great way for people to learn, right? And to share your message. And especially I love this book because not everyone has a different story and a different journey and a different success. And when you read it, you can get inspiration and wisdom and you may not resonate with me, but you may resonate with John or somebody else in the book, right? So I just thought, what a great thing to be a part of. And I hopped on it without hesitation as soon as I heard about it.
Yeah. And Robert, you're in one of the upcoming books, correct?
Correct. Yep.
They have 6 other books that they're looking for authors for. There's woman entrepreneurs, veteran entrepreneurs, which I think Robert, you said is the one you're going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
There's RV entrepreneurs, pet owner entrepreneurs, reinvented entrepreneurs, which I think pretty much every solopreneur can be put into. There may be a couple of issues with that one put out. I am considering putting myself in that one again too. And the latest one is woman in construction, I believe it is. So they keep adding books in as they come up with thoughts. I know this week alone, I've heard discussions, maybe a couple more coming up the road. This is all done in-house, folks. The book right now is available on Amazon, and it's $18 for the book. Very low priced for the inspiration, shall we say, that's in the book. So as far as businesses go, Robert, let's talk about how your business impacts people?
Okay. Well, 3 years ago, I was asked to start videotaping veterans, and those videos go to the Library of Congress. And so what happened is that if there was somebody present, a family member present, they would make comments like, "Oh, we never heard that before. We never knew they went there. Never knew they did that." So it was. I started thinking about my parents and my grandparents, and sort of the gap of knowledge about about them. And so then I started a new endeavor to basically interview people 65 and older to tell their story so that they can then share that with family and friends. So, I mean, video, I've always been, I've been doing video since 1972. So, but it's always been an avocation. It's always been, one might say it's a hobby, but I think I've spent too much money for it to be a hobby. But so what it is that I've just turned it into really being a vocation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's one thing too. A lot of solopreneurs, they have background things that they do that they usually don't talk about. Um, we all know somebody that the three of us know that has done that since leaving the company of Align. Um, but Jacqueline, how does what you do impact people and what kind of results?
Yeah, so people will typically come to me when they're at a crossroads, right? They need to make a decision and they're looking to make a change and they're not sure what direction to go into. And I just help them understand really what they were meant to do on this earth, right? What is their purpose? Like what are you born, who are you born to be? What is your truth? It could be, in one case, it was a woman who was a successful realtor, but she always wanted to write a book series, a fictional writer. And she was afraid about, am I going to make money and what's going to happen to my family and all of this. Another person came to me because they were let go from a job and took a new job, but it somehow wasn't satisfying. And she didn't realize that she didn't get rid of the grief from losing that job. So she's not going to be happy with anything because she's still grieving over her loss. And so it really just helps people move on to whatever they need to do through understanding your DNA that you were born with, which comes from the science of astrology, and then learning how to connect with the angels, the divine, who can help you, support you, and protect you while you're making these changes. So what I really find is that people who work with me are a year, 2 years later in a completely different place. Like, I mean, their energy, they're happier, they're more satisfied. Some are making less money, but they're happy. Some are making more money and they're happy, but they're doing what it is they love and not compromising on that. And yeah, a lot of them may have like Robert, right? A lot of them may have been doing side gigs, as I call them, that or their passions. And it's like, well, no, let's just do it. Just make it what you do. Don't try to find time for it. Let's just figure out how to make it what you do. And not everyone can make the change, right? Not everybody is strong enough to make the pivot because it takes courage and it takes belief in your purpose. And that's, the divine part of what I do. That's the angel part, to help you have the courage to make that change. Because in many cases it can be scary. Your family can be like, "What do you mean you're not going to do this anymore? You're the major breadwinner. Where are you going to come up with some money? Are we going to lose our house?" Anytime you pivot like
Yeah,
that, there's all kinds of risk.
yeah. And I understand what you're saying about the angels. was a couple of years ago that for me, earlier than that for my wife, that a lot of the thoughts that people get, they don't realize are messages from their guardian angel service. And when people learn about that and start listening to these thoughts that come into their mind, you're absolutely right. Their lives change a lot for the better. Um, Also, I don't, have you, have I mentioned to you, Jacqueline, about the podcast I had on February 13th? Have
Yes,
you
I listened
watched
to
that?
that one. Yes, I have.
That
Yes.
is a very touching and emotional podcast.
Yeah.
Um,
And somewhat, you know, I go by faith
yeah,
that they exist. That gentleman didn't have to go by faith because he knew it. He experienced it. He
yeah,
saw it, right? And
yeah,
most of us don't. We just have faith that they're there, and we realize from a faith perspective. And that's the other thing. It's just you do take a leap of faith. Where that other
yeah,
gentleman though had an amazing experience when he was in what I would call that, that limbo. He wasn't quite 100% off of Earth. He was over in the limbo zone, and then came
yeah,
back with all this amazing knowledge. It he proved it to himself, and
yeah,
can now talk about it. Where you, me, and Robert, we all have to have faith that the divine exists. We haven't seen it, we haven't touched it. We may have
yeah,
encountered angels along the way and not realized it, but yeah, pretty phenomenal.
yeah. What we're talking about, folks who are listening, is February, Friday, February 13th, and he picked a date, not me. I had a gentleman on my podcast that had a near-death experience, and at the age of 21, I believe it was. And if if you hear people talk about near-death experiences, it's as they're walking to the light. This gentleman's experience starts on the other side and was given a special message to bring back. Uh, he had a very bad reaction to anesthesia in a operating room and died for 7 minutes and had that experience and came back. Um, if anybody, if it's piqued anybody's interest, go to YouTube, type in Mill City Marketing MA, and most of my podcasts will be there. Look for the date, February 13th. Can't forget that date. Um, this podcast will be on there by tomorrow. Uh, as well as my last 2 weeks have been authors from that book. And there's more coming. Um, so, Robert, where can we go with you now?
Well, I mean, I want to tell
But
Jacqueline that
yeah,
my faith trip started a long time ago, and was actually substantiated by the power of positive thinking by L. Ron Hubbard. And when I read that book, it was interesting because, he kept on talking about throwing prayer. And, in other words, if somebody is backing out at the same time that you're walking by their car, there's a reason for that. In other words, there's a reason, and you should throw them a prayer. And I used to commute quite a ways from Petaluma to Walnut Creek, and I typically go to work real early in the morning. And so I would see the drunk drivers. And so
mm,
I would throw a prayer to them saying, either get off the road or pull over and rest or whatever. And I cannot count the number of cars that I saw do that. And I I'm a very firm believer that that we have a lot more with us than people think. There's also another book out which is Making Your Mind Magnificent by Stephen Campbell. And that one was really crazy because um, I I read it, I went through it really fast. It was a short book, and he put down all of these cases where as a teacher, what he experienced as a teacher, and I experienced the same things. And so he and I would talk about it. And what happened is that I mean, at that time I weighed almost 250 pounds. And his comment was, "Oh yeah, I weighed the same." But then I convinced my brain that I weighed a certain other weight. He says, all you have to do is just tell yourself, I weigh 180 pounds. And that's what I did. And I just got weighed by the doctor yesterday and I was at 182. And so, what happens is that it's those angels and the power of positive thinking that really makes a big difference in your life.
And it's the energy you put out. So I firmly believe that when you put the energy out, when you think about something, you bring about something, right? We create with our energy. If you think you can't do something, you're not going to be able to do it because you've already convinced yourself you can't.
Right.
But if you believe that you can and you try, then you will eventually be able to do it. And that's the hard part, right? And especially with entrepreneurs of any kind, because somewhere on your journey you have doubt because something happens and that gets in your way, but you have to keep going because once you start doubting that you can do what you want to do, yeah, you're going to be correct. You're not going to get it done. And it's all that mindset is really, really important. And I'm sure a lot of the stories you record from people, especially in the military, they've been through horrible experiences that they needed their mind to get them through because their situation may have been very dire, but they had to remain positive and think that, especially when I've known some folks who have been POWs, and the only thing that kept them is they just in their mind knew that they were going to survive, they were going to live, they were going to be okay, that they weren't going to give up. And that's really all they had was their mind.
And it's so interesting because people will ask me, well, why do you do video? Can't you just do an audio recording or do a transcribed book or whatever the case is? And I said, you know what? I'll tell you something. You start watching a video when somebody is telling their story, their face changes. Their eyes change, their mouth changes, they just change as they get into it. And I'll tell you that it's actually really exciting because it doesn't make any difference who I interview. People will say, "Oh, I don't have a story." Yeah, everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a story. The thing is, you just got to work at getting to the point where you tell the story, right? Because you may not think it's important. I had one guy, he said, I was driving along and all of a sudden I saw a car weave off the road and go into a lake. And he said, so I jammed on my brakes, I jumped out and without even thinking, I jumped into the water and I opened up the door to save the lady. And I'm sitting there saying, I stopped him and I said, and you don't think that that's not an important story? I mean, God, you can't get too much better than that, I mean, and that's all these people have stories. It actually is really a
Yeah.
lot of fun for me.
We actually had a discussion a couple of hours ago on the people that put this book out, Built with Purpose. They've put together a show on it's on a Zoom, and it's called BWP TV. Sue and Kurt are the ones that host it, and I listened to the recording from last Wednesday's episode, and it was a lot of it was about people telling their story, and you never know who it's going to have an impression on. And it's absolutely correct. I mean, reading so many stories in this book that these people have put in, some of these things that these people have gone through, it's incredible. Some of them that there was a gentleman on that show last week that I swear to God, he had tears in his eyes talking about the story he wrote. And a lot of the stories, they hit hard. I don't think I think anybody who reads that book, something will touch them, if not more than one thing. But yeah, and then getting back to entrepreneurs, a lot of building their business has to do with their mindset. If their mindset's not in the right place, their business isn't going to succeed well. And not only their mindset, but they have to have I think they have to have a general idea of the mindsets of their biggest customers in order to keep the business drawing them back in. And that's one thing a lot of businesses I'm finding out aren't aware of, is their mindset. What do you think about that one, Jack?
Yeah, the why would they do business with me? Like, what benefit am I giving them that they continue to work with me? Like, how are they thinking about what it is I am giving them? Am I missing a mark? Am I hitting it? Because if you don't provide the benefit to them, then they're going to go elsewhere. And then I wish I remember I think it's Thinking Rich or something like that. Is a very old book. It's been around since the early 1900s, from what I understand. But there's a whole concept in that book. Think and Grow Rich. Yeah, there's a whole concept in that book about how what you sell has to actually have more value for the person than the price they paid. That if you've sold them something, if your services, if your product have more value than the actual dollar they paid, then you are doing well by others and the world, and you will continue to grow. And I think too many entrepreneurs or solopreneurs are thinking of, I have to make X amount of money, and I have to, they're thinking about what it is to them and not what the value is they bring and what their client or customer is looking for. And I see that a lot actually in younger entrepreneurs who are at it for the first time, where it's just like, oh yeah, I can be rich like so and so if I just sell at this price or sell more. And it's not about that. It's about what is in it for that person who you are selling to. And that's a shift in mindset with many people. They don't understand that.
Yeah, that book, Think and Grow Rich. I have a hard copy of it.
Yeah, it's on my Kindle. I have
most
of my stuff is on the Kindle app on my phone, because I can go back and forth, and I highlight and go back and forth from book to book to book.
If anybody wants to look it up, it is available on Amazon in different formats. It was done by Napoleon Hill.
No, I think we're thinking of a different book.
No?
This is a different book. Yeah. I'll look it up while you guys talk. No, it's not. It is not that one, but I know of that one. This one is a different one.
Okay.
This one is The Science of Getting Rich.
Oh, the science
It's
of getting rich. Okay.
The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Waddles, I think, but The Science of Getting Rich.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I actually have a quote on my wall by him. I have quotes hanging up on my walls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, that book, Think and Grow Rich, that's a good book too. That I think a lot
Mhm.
of business owners should get a hold of.
And it's all the same I mean, it's the same message in different ways, but
Yeah.
it's you have to be of the belief, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's believe in yourself, believe in your product, believe in what it can do for the world, and know how to tell your story so that people understand it. That's why storytelling is so important. And giving people a platform to tell their story, I think, is a noble purpose.
Yeah. Robert, what is your take on that? On this?
Well, I sort of look at outcomes sometimes. When you get a phone call or an email from somebody who just received a copy of the video from a relative, and they call you or get a hold of you and they say, "Wow, we never knew Uncle George did those things before," and they go on and on and on about that, and it's like, okay, do you know somebody that might want to be interviewed? you know
Yeah.
I mean, it's like creating an ongoing thing where you just say, if you thought that was great, let's find somebody else, you know. And
Yeah.
it's and again, all of those books, I mean, what happens is that people go to retreats and they hear that same story over and over again, slightly different, and it really is, most of it saying the same thing, which is you've got to believe in yourself and you've got to
Yeah.
believe that what you're doing has benefit for other people. Because if it doesn't have benefit for other people, then you're just a huckster. And quite truthfully, generally, I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Yeah. Um, Let me see. Kurt, are you available? I know you have questions for these people. Look at this. Perfect timing. You were waiting. You knew it was coming. Folks, this is Kurt's network, but I call him my coach. He's been doing it for over 10 years. He's better some questions than I am.
Oh, I don't know about that, John. We just make a good partnership here, a good duo, and it's all for our audience. That's what it's for. Just what we're talking about here, the value to other people, like all of you out there watching this podcast, this video. So Jacqueline, I want to ask you a question here. You know, I'm hearing bringing up about, John referenced Napoleon Hill. Jacqueline, you referenced Wallace D. Waddles, and there is this reality that those that have come before us, give us a lot of insight to life. Like how we can learn from history and what people have done before, and to inspire us what we might do now because of what they have done already. You want to speak to that a little bit, like when we think of Robert's work, to kind of capture these stories and what that can mean for somebody right now watching one of the videos that Robert watches, and then now that's connecting to something for them right now, and it falls right into your work, Jacqueline. How does that come together for you? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it really does come together well in two ways. So we all have, I will call it baggage because of past experiences, and some are positive, some are negative. And we may have only heard a story one way, or we may have only known one thing based on how we grew up. And hearing other points of view, hearing other people's stories, understanding what's possible is what sometimes people need and to let go of maybe the one way that they knew of. I often, the first thing that someone says to me, or that a lot of people may say to me, is, "Oh, well, you talk to angels. What about God? Or what about Jesus? Or what about the devil?" And so people come with preconceived notions about someone who talks to angels and what they are, because their worldview is very narrow. And so the more worldviews you can have and the more experiences, even if you may not live them, but by listening to the stories of others, I think we all become better people. We can accept things that are different and maybe help us think a little differently in the future.
Absolutely. Yep. Good stuff, Jacqueline. Thank you. So, Robert and I want to bring it into from the vantage point of your work and being here today with Jacqueline and what she does. So when you think of all these videos you created and you think of angels and you think of heaven and kind of all this stuff that is out in the ethernet or whatever it may be, folks who are Reiki masters, well, whatever it is, Robert, do you see that showing up in the stories? Do you find that people are kind of reaching to this stuff in your stories or no?
Boy, you hit on a couple of things. For one, I've ended up videotaping Reiki masters. All right. And I one of the things was I had a 5 camera shoot of a horse and a Reiki master, and the owner of the horse was a veterinarian. And what happened is that as she went through, no hands touching the horse, just energy work. All right. The horse's demeanor changed all over the place. And one of the cameras that I had was pointed at the face of, well, right at the head and the face of the veterinarian. And it was so interesting to watch her expression significantly change as the horse demeanor changed. It was like, how did you do that? It's like I, you know, now I've videotaped this gal a couple of times with not only the horse but with some dogs and with tigers. All right. And I'll tell you that, you see those videos and you say, you can't just say that doesn't work. you know, I mean, it does. Likewise with some of the veterans. I have one who was talking about it in Korea, and what happened is that somebody's canteen made a sound, and so he turned around, and at the time he turned around, he stepped on a landmine, and it blew him like a couple of 100 yards away. And his thing about what he experienced, from a God standpoint, from an angel standpoint, you can't replicate that. I mean, there's just something that is. It's something that is. Now, in addition to that, this guy lost his leg. He got a wooden leg. All right. He ended up working for the fire um, in a fire tower. So he had to climb those ladders to the top of the fire tower to be able to look with an artificial leg. I mean, talk about, oof, drive, something else.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Robert. Boy, we keep getting good stuff. I like how we're unpacking this. So let's unpack this podcast again. Let's remind you, everybody, we're out at Revolutionize Your Marketing, provided to us by Mill City Marketing MA and our chief marketer here, John Petro Sr., ambassador of Alignable. But Jacqueline, I want to come to you on the thoughts of marketing. I like to get the mind running by breaking marketing apart, in its pieces of, advertising, publicity, promotion, PR, press releases, customer service, direct selling, social media, mass media. all these pieces, there's so many disciplines to marketing. So, in this quest for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, all our friends at Alignable to crack this nut on, what is their ideal marketing plan and actions and activities and the marketing products. How do you see your work, Jacqueline, help somebody hone into that good fit on that marketing that creates that ideal connection between their company, their products, their services, and their avatar for who is that good fit to buy their products and services?
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, what it is helping someone articulate the benefit that they provide. What is the benefit that they provide? What does their product do? How does it benefit someone? What does their service do? How does it benefit? And sell and market to the benefit. That's what I focus like on and on the why. Like what is the why? People buy because of a why, and people buy things that will benefit them, regardless of where or how you market it. And so I try to help people get crisp on those things, particularly when they're pivoting. Like, why are you pivoting from being, a real estate agent to a writer? Like what is it about your book that's going to be different than everybody else that's on Amazon, right? So I try to get them to focus on that, because not only does that then help them do the pivot, but then when it comes time to work with someone that is a marketer, they've got kind of the DNA about what happened and how to market that product because they know their why.
Yeah, thanks, Jacqueline. So Robert, over on what you bring forward on video, I'm a big fan of what you do because what we're doing right now is because I'm a fan of sharing, what we have at the table with more another person and more people is through video. We're out there
Hmm.
on YouTube right now, live for a video. So how do you see this craft of creating videos and speak a little bit, Robert, to of all these different opportunities that somebody can come up with a video format, like people are doing shorts and all the things out there for going ahead and doing a video. Speak to your craft. Like, what are you trying to do with the interviews and the storytelling that is a way that these people are expressing themselves and the circumstances around the story in a way that we don't find anywhere else? What's the uniqueness in what you do, Robert?
Well, I mean, there are a couple things. One is that we actually sign an NDA with all the people that we interview, saying that we are not going to share their information online. That's up to them. Now, what we do have as part of the NDA is we say if we find a piece of something that you've done that really sounds exciting, we'll cut that piece out, and we'll send it to you and ask permission to actually show it. And we're working on about a half dozen pieces right now that we'll be posting up on a website that show pieces of things like that. So it's really, I mean, video is very powerful, but at the same time, you need to be careful that if you're dealing with, especially people like we're dealing with, which is older than 65, they look at social media as being a bad thing. I don't want to be on social media. I don't want my name out there. I don't want anything like that. And so we've been very respective of that perspective. And so that way, they don't see anything really negative about it. And the other thing we're doing is really trying to go after younger people, people in their 30s to 40s or 50s, saying, what about giving a gift of getting one of your relatives to do an interview? And we've had a couple of those so far, and those have worked out great. I always get a kick because there's so many people that say, "Oh, my aunt has dementia, so I don't know whether she'd be able to tell any stories." And I'll tell you, I've interviewed people with dementia, with Alzheimer's, with a lot of different, quote, mental issues. And if you interview them the right way, right, where you're compassionate and you just say, look at, where were you born? Where were you raised? Where did you go to school? What kind of jobs did you have? In other words, you start getting into that. They may not remember what they ate for breakfast, but they will remember a lot about their early life. And that's really where it comes out.
Wow. Oh, good stuff,
Yeah.
Robert. It's great to hear that. And yeah, a unique offer, unique experience. It's very instructive to hear how you go about it, all the nuances of it, and extra value of privacy, and yeah, the idea of accommodating, and you're thinking of diversity. That as people come, it's not just one size fits all, but it is something where the way you do it, you're growing it so that everybody coming in is feeling that these videos are coming out in a way that works for them, and that there's no barrier to it because of how you're showing the concerns that they may have, and that they appreciate that.
Mhm.
So right now I want to check in with Emily. Emily's in the background as our podcast engineer. We talked about before we went live about doing a screen share with Alignable. So Emily, do we have screen sharing going, or do we have to wait till next week to do that part of the design here?
No, I can try to screen share here. Uh, uh, I'm not sure who should go first here, but maybe I'll just try to click in Robert's here since it's first. Okay, let me get back to Zoom here.
So what we're doing here is I'm trying to bring in an emphasis on Alignable. John here is an ambassador with Alignable, and these connections are growing through this platform. It's impressive how the Alignable community is adding members constantly. And so here we have Robert Tuttle, BTA Video Productions out of California. Take a look there. That connect button, connect button. The connect button is sitting there waiting for you to go ahead and find Robert on Alignable and connect, and take a look at that domain if you're not familiar with Alignable, alignable.com. And so, Emily, are you ready to give a glimpse of Jacqueline's profile? Do you
Okay.
have that on the ready, or should I give you some time?
No, just give me a
All
second
right,
here.
she's going to bring.
Just give me a second. I'm just gonna click on hers here.
Yeah, I
Um,
figure this fits into what we're doing here. We're all about marketing, and I just feel we're remiss to have this story budding out of Alignable and to not, show the work product here and the platform. So here we go. And there's a lot of Smart Connect meetings and stuff ready for you. You see groups up there, notifications. You can see Emily's got a profile on here, but Jacqueline's on here, powered by Angels and Ready Connect. She's telling you the customers she would like to meet. And so a way to follow up with her after this show. So, John, with that, I want to give it back to you. We're kind of coming into the final segment here, a handful of minutes to the top of the hour. I don't know if we're going to do encore with these two, or if we're going to wrap it up here quickly in minutes. John, I'll pass it back to you and let you button it up. What do you got, John? And John, you got that mute button in action there. There we go. Good rehearsal. Well said.
Sorry,
All right.
cut out the background noise. My wife does take care at the house here, folks, so when the kids leave, I have to mute. But yeah, before we forget, let's let the people listening how they can get a hold of you folks. Jacqueline, want to go first? What's the best way?
Yeah. The best way is to go to my website, which is my name, jacquelinekuhn.com. My email is there, phone, as well as information forms. So jacquelinekuhn.com, and you can find everything about me from that point.
Okay, and Robert, how about you?
Well, my website's not been redone and up yet, so it would be tuttlebob@gmail.com.
Okay, and if anybody's interested in getting hold of me, if you're a business and you're on Alignable, like 9 million people are, um, you can find me on Alignable by looking up my name. You can email me at millcitymarketingma@gmail.com. You can contact me by my calendars, um, which is on my website. My website is millcitybusinesshelp.com and one S at the end of business. Don't ask. Uh, um, if you go on to my calendar link, you can book a one-on-one with me, or you can book a spot on my podcast here at the same time. That's at calendly.com/millcitymarketingma. And Kurt, how can people get a hold of you? And why don't you let people know some of the things that you're involved while you're here?
Some of the things that I'm involved with, I
We
happen
have
to
to
be
keep
the
it down though. We only have so much time.
Yeah, I happen to be the America's Chair for the Impactful Veterans Network of Spirit of the Game Foundation, which sponsors this Zoom room use here, and so we're live streaming the way we are, thanks to Spirit of the Game Foundation. And I'm an ambassador of Project IART, combating veteran suicide by spreading hope to veterans. And today we just released an all new special needs directory that is through Helpopedia. You can check out Helpopedia through helpopedia.org. And our directory can be found through specialneeds.help. Specialneeds.help. So go ahead and hop on that directory, give us feedback on that. And Emily and I are also working board members of Humans United Mutual Aid Networks, managing the Humans Global Cooperative. So, yeah, we do a lot of fun work here. And you are listening to this show as we put it out on the platform of the World of Ability Podcast Network, which is working in concert with On the Mark TV, Nonprofit Media Solutions, which brings us nonprofit TV networks. And we also have ivodtv.org is a platform for some of our partner companies and media partners, and 220 networks are involved in what we're all doing here. So there's a whole bigger picture. If you have any questions for me, you can call and text me on my Google Voice line, 262-372-1754, and send over those emails, Kurt, K-U-R-T, at spiritofthegame.org. Go bananas, folks. Back to you, John.
All right. So there you go, folks. All kinds of information for you available. And the one thing I did not mention, that I probably should, is if you go on to my website, um, all my contact information is also on my website. And I think that about does it. Just remember, if you want to get inspired by entrepreneurs' stories, get the book. It's unalignable. $18 for the book. 42 people telling their stories. And that does it for this week, folks. As we say here at Kurt's Network, we're here every Friday live at 5 Eastern. And one other thing, as far as my business goes, I do marketing for small businesses, medium-sized businesses, any size. And if you want to get the word out, I got social media, live stream TV, radio all across the country with iHeartRadio, and I'm working with a company now that has access to God knows how many TV stations. I thought it was 9. Had a meeting the other day and found out it is a lot more than 9 on primetime TV. That's it for me.
All right.